buddy.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
The podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, some psychopath out on the internet just figured out that all the fun Christmas songs were written by Jewish songwriters.
Yeah.
And, so we're going to respond to that.
It's very funny. I think, you got to find new stuff to complain about during the war on Christmas season.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really the best part of the season for so many Christians. They're less and less interested in, presents under the tree and a nice hot chocolate or whatever, and more interested in how are they out to get us?
Right. So we're going to get into that. That's coming up later on the show, Dan. But first, did you hear that there's a new Moses in town?
Oh, wake up, honey. The new Moses has dropped. He's burning bushes.
Oh, my God.
What do we got?
This is, I guess.
I'm going to say this. If it's American and somehow the Lake Superior doesn't get parted, I would be furious.
Well, this is also, I guess, it's not just a Moses story, but it's also a Mike Johnson update.
Oh, God.
Because the U.S. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has compared himself to Moses in his leading of the GOP conference and America. As though through the parted waters of the Red Sea, he was at an event that he thought was private. He was at the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, the NACL. National Association of Christian Lawmakers.
National Association of Christian Lawmakers, which is abbreviated NAZI, I think.
Whatever. They had their award gala at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. And like I said, he was unaware that the event was being recorded. And so he said to the crowd, I'll tell you a secret since media is not here. Thank you for not allowing the media in, he added, while alleging that journalists had been taking his comments out of context with great joy for the last few weeks. But he then revealed that in the lead up to Kevin McCarthy being ousted as Speaker of the House, and then the drawn out process that the Republicans put themselves through in order to select a new speaker, that he during that period of time, he had been speaking directly to God.
Oh, yes.
And he received a message from God where God told him to prepare for a, quote, Red Sea moment. And he said that the Lord began to wake him up in the middle of the night through the 3 week process in order to talk to him. I just paraphrased a quote. In his own words, he said, "The Lord began to wake me up through this 3 week process in the middle of night to speak to me."
Good
now,
Lord.
At the time, he continued, I assumed the Lord was going to choose a new Moses, right? And he acknowledged his sort of lower rank amongst GOP leadership. He was interpreting the God's message to him to say something like, that he was going to be an Aaron to Moses, right?
Okay.
Because surely he would not end up being Moses.
No.
Right?
I think we all were pretty surprised about that point.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, the Lord kept telling him through the whole thing, wait, as the other people would put their name in and be knocked around and everything. So he says that he waited. And then at the end, the Lord said, now step forward. And so we have a Speaker of the House who we know is already lunatic fringe.
Yeah. Christian nationalist.
Yeah. And he talks to God, and he acknowledges that he knows, hey, look, I'm a Southern Baptist. I don't want to get too spooky on you, he says. But the Lord speaks the Lord speaks to your heart.
Oh God. Can I just say,
I want to know. I just want to know. I need to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Lord speaks to him. Is he hearing a voice, or is he imagining? Does he know that there's not a voice and he's just sort of interpreting feelings, right? Because one is highly problematic and the other one is even more problematic.
Right. Yeah.
So
neither's a good choice.
No.
There's no good way out of this, but please tell us that yours is not the literal cuckoo bananas one.
Just the normal cuckoo bananas one.
Can I just say something about his choice of sort of metaphor? Because, okay, let's say that you are the chosen Moses, the new Moses, chosen to lead America out of its bondage.
Yeah.
Its metaphorical bondage in Egypt, whatever that means.
Right.
I bet he couldn't really tell you. Do you know what happens after the Lord parts the Red Sea?
Uh-oh.
It's just that then Moses leads everyone around completely, like, just lost in the wilderness for 40 fucking years.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that what you want, speaker? Because it sounds actually really genuinely like the Republican platform right now. I think that is officially their platform. Lead Americans around aimlessly for 40 years.
I mean,
because they don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So
I mean, hopefully the clock's
anything.
already been ticking on that.
Yeah.
Like
right?
how many years are left in them?
Starting with Gingrich, maybe?
Because it does feel like America's in the wilderness. You're totally right to point that out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, 'tis the season. It is the holiday times. And of course, the Vatican.
Yeah.
They're very into this whole Jesus thing. I don't know if you know that. But they're quite devoted to it.
Right.
And they are celebrating an anniversary this year.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have a creche there in St. Peter's Square.
It's a cute one.
Well, this one's going to be a little different.
Okay.
This one was created. It's going to have some like stone surrounding it, or stone looking material surrounding it. This one was created by some artisans in the small town of Greccio in Italy.
Okay.
And it is made to recreate the first creche ever.
Okay.
That was done 800 years ago this year.
Okay.
By Saint Francis Assisi.
Oh.
Who decided to recreate the birth of Jesus visually.
Right.
They're in Greccio, which is near Rome.
Okay.
Back in the year 1223.
So they have records that they're basing this on?
Yeah.
And they're, wow.
So anyone whose mom collects little nativity scenes, little creches.
Yeah.
You can tell her proudly that she is part of an 800-year tradition. Turning 800 this year.
What?
Isn't that cute?
800. Yeah.
St. Francis.
That's wild. I thought that there was going to be something scandalous in this.
No, it's just kind of cute. I don't know. Listen, it's the holiday. It's the holidays. It's getting dark now. Yeah. Way too early. I don't have it in me to do too many bummers on today's show.
Life's enough of a bummer at the moment.
I found a bunch of bummer stories, and I was like, no, rejected. No. Okay, a creche, they're celebrating 800 years. Who the fuck cares? It's stupid, but there you go.
I will say the Vatican does it right for Christmas. Like, and I would say Italy does it right for Christmas. Like I always loved the Christmas season in Italy. It just it always just feels, it has a good feel to it.
They're going to have a 90-foot tall Christmas tree.
Yeah.
There.
They like cover up the obelisk that's there.
I don't know about that.
They glue a bunch of branches to the obelisk.
Oh, interesting. No, this is actually a fir tree.
Oh, okay.
This is actually a 90-foot tall fir tree that apparently was going to be cut down because of damage to its trunk.
Oh.
So it was already injured. So we don't have to feel so bad for it.
I never feel bad for the Christmas tree. Do you?
I mean, if it was farmed, then I don't feel as bad. Okay. If it's like part of a clear cut or whatever, it's not. If it's one of those majestic, huge, amazing trees that could have just been left alone, but like Rockefeller Center just had to have it. That kind of sucks.
I saw the story from this year where it's like somebody's house. It was in their front yard. Oh, like in New Jersey or something.
The Rockefeller Center one?
Yeah. It was just a giant pine tree in somebody's front yard. And they had a picture of the house. And I'm like, they're going to regret that.
Yeah.
I mean, they get a say. I mean, to be honest, you are dining out for quite some time on that one.
Right? Oh, yeah.
But,
that is your famous in the neighborhood forever. And as a matter of fact, like what you do, that person is going to like, there's going to be a sign at the stump saying where it went for years.
They're going
to have a little
barren hole in our landscaping.
A plaque made up for that.
All right. Well, Dan, just in time for Christmas, have an update from Denmark about Quran burnings in Denmark. They are now officially illegal.
Damn it. I had my plane ticket booked. I was going to go burn some holy books in Denmark.
Just cause Denmark some problems.
Yeah.
The past 94 to 77 in the Danish parliament. And it's that's a solid win, but that's also fairly divided.
Controversial.
Yeah. And it is controversial. Yeah. The penalty for burning, tearing, or defiling any religious text in public could be a little stay of 2 years behind bars.
Wow. 2 years.
It could be a fine or up to 2 years. Destroying any holy text on video and disseminating the footage online could also put offenders in jail. So the trick there is the old VHS, the old viral VHS copy of something. That's what you got to do with that one. You film yourself burning the Quran on VHS,
and then broadcast it over broadcast TV.
No. Well, no, you definitely wouldn't want to do that. But you could tell everybody, hey, I've got free copies of this video cassette of me burning the Quran. Right.
This sounds like a great idea that you have here, Frank.
And you can just hand that out. Right.
You've cracked the code.
This is the genius legal mind of Frank Feldman. The far right is outraged. Here's one Mr. Inger Stoiberg. History will judge us harshly for this, and with good reason. What it all comes down to is whether a restriction on freedom of speech is determined by us or whether it is dictated from the outside. And then from the left side of the political spectrum. We have Corinna Lorentzen saying, does Iran change its legislation because Denmark feels offended by something an Iranian would do? Does Pakistan? Does Saudi Arabia? The answer is no. And so, that's true.
I understand both of those perspectives. I think they're right. Other than nobody in Denmark goes and has a riot and maybe murders people when someone burns their holy book.
Well, maybe they should start.
Maybe. I think you've taken the wrong lesson from this, Franklin.
Maybe they should act like crazed lunatics.
Yeah. Retaliatory next time action is what's called for here.
Iran engages in, I don't know, oppressing women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because that's offensive. That offends.
Have a riot about it.
That offends the Danish sensibility, right?
100%.
And so I think that they should probably offend something else in their sensibility, which is probably peace and quiet and behaving like rational human beings. So there you go. Man. So it's now illegal. I'm with you that I get it. I get that they felt like they had to do fucking something about this, but it's fucking outrageous. There's
no easy answer here.
Yeah.
Everybody I see so many people who are like, you should never infringe on the right to protest. It's just a book, blah, blah, blah. And, yes, you are correct about all of that. And yet also, let's maybe prevent some riots and stuff. I don't know. It's a shit thing to do anyway.
Yeah.
To burn someone's holy book is just a shit thing to do. Yes, it should be legal. I 100% think it should be, but it's also a dick move. So there you go. But I don't think
we're allowed to be dicks.
Yeah, it's true. Well, speaking of dicks, that's a bad segue to me talking about the spiritual but not religious. No,
okay.
So Pew has just done a study. They've released a new study asking some questions that they've never asked before about spiritual but not religious, or rather spirituality and religion. I still don't know what spiritual means. No one's ever been able to really identify sort of. I don't think that there's a universal or universally understood meaning to that word, other than just, if a theremin plays while you're thinking about something, then in your mind, then maybe that's spirituality.
Oh, Dan.
Well, okay, great. Offer up your definition, or what?
Well, I'm not a spiritual person, right? So right. I don't have a real connection to that word, but I'm not going to discount something that people who, a lot of people who aren't God believers, right, still feel this they're wrapping up a lot of different things into this one word. And I think one of them is sort of
with that
awe at the sort of the scope of the universe and our own consciousnesses and just
connections between people. But here's the problem.
So there's this, none of those words on their own or in any some sort of clunky combination matches what people are feeling and experiencing. And they use the word spiritual to sort of describe what that amalgam of things is. And so I'm not going to take that away from them or,
Look, I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I can't stop people from using that word. But if you get 50 people from various parts of the world who all identify as spiritual into a room and then check what it means to them, you're going to have 50 definitions of that word.
And I think
some of them are going to be very, very different from each other.
I think people who experience this, would be fine with that and understand that there are differences and be cool with it.
Anyway,
because, it's not a precise thing.
Yes, that word, spiritual, we hear a lot about a category that is spiritual but not religious.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time that Pew has actually looked into that category in any real sort of way. And the numbers shake out in interesting ways. Would you care to? So we're not including people who are neither spiritual nor religious. That's its own category. Of the spiritual but not religious in the United States of America, what percent do you think we have?
Of Americans who say they are spiritual but not religious.
Correct.
Oh, I think I bet it's 15%.
22%, with another 21% of Americans neither spiritual nor religious.
What?
That is 43% of America non-religious, explicitly saying they are non-religious.
Oh, we are so winning this thing.
we're coming in hot. Although it's like, because spirituality is so badly defined, this category of spiritual but not religious runs the gamut. Some of them, 45% of spiritual but not religious, are still religiously affiliated. So what are you doing?
But they don't feel religious.
Right. They're not religious, but they are affiliated. 1/5 of them identify as, of that 45% identify as Protestant, 12%, or no, 1/5 of that category is Protestant and 12% are Catholic. Anyway, it's an interesting question. I'm kind of glad that they're asking it now, because I am shocked by those numbers. 21% of Americans are neither spiritual nor religious. That's us, kids.
Yeah.
That is over 1 in 5 people in America. That is not a small number.
What percentage of those people still continue on with some sort of God belief? Because you could believe in God but not be spiritual.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
you could be like, I just don't care about it.
We have that
it's
answer.
Unknowable. Okay.
Spiritual but not religious people, 20%, only 20% of those people believe in God as described in the Bible.
Okay.
So
all right.
So there you go. It's a diminishing group of people.
I love it.
They are much less likely than religious people to say that they believe in heaven or hell.
Right.
Though 54% of them do believe in heaven and 40% of them do believe in hell.
Okay, come on, guys.
Get it together, people.
Yeah. You like the good one. You don't like the bad one.
But that's actually in line with also religious people of whom 93% believe in heaven and only 83% believe in hell. So, yeah, I people like to believe that good things are going to happen to them, and I think of the people who believe in hell, they're more eager for bad things to happen to other people. It's not about their own thing. Of course, they're not going to hell. They just hope that the people that they don't like are going to be going there. It's a giddy schadenfreude that they have.
Yeah, it's actually surprising that more people that the number isn't swapped, right?
Right? Yeah.
That there's sort of more of a general belief or a hope. I hope that there's actually a hell.
Right?
Because I know who would go there.
Yeah.
Because clearly I'm not going to hell.
Right. Obviously, we're good people, so we can't go there.
I don't believe in God. I don't believe in heaven, but I sure believe in hell.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it's sometimes it's right here.
It makes sense, but I will point out that demographically that women are far more likely to be spiritual but not religious than men. So
yeah,
that makes sense. That makes sense largely in terms of like rejecting religion. Religion is often so shitty to women that it makes sense that they would reject religion.
Yeah.
Even if they don't want to reject, certain aspect, the quote unquote spiritual aspects of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Even though men are more
That
likely
makes
to
sense.
be to identify as atheist or agnostic.
Okay.
So, there you go. Stuff's happening. We like to keep up with good news about. I mean, we don't have any trends. Since this was the first time they've asked about it, we don't know the trends, but we do know that that's an awful lot of Americans no longer.
Yeah, I mean,
connecting to religion.
Yeah, we may not have the numbers, but we know the trends.
Yeah,
we know which direction these things are going.
Absolutely,
and from where they came. All right, Dan, this is right in line with your story earlier. It's just good news. It's just fun good news. Very recently, the Central Bucks School Board, which I believe is in Pennsylvania, they held their they call it their reorganization meeting. So I think it's the one after the election, where the new school board members are coming in and meeting up, and the school board members who got reelected, they're all together for the first time.
Sure.
And so that means it's time for some swearings in, right?
Yes.
And that of course means that there's a lot of Bibles that have been brought along or pulled out or whatever, so that people can put their hand on the Bible and act like that's going to make them do the job better.
Yeah. Pretend like that makes any difference in their lives whatsoever.
So, but then one of the incumbents, a woman by the name of Karen Smith, instead of bringing along a Bible, she brought along a stack of books, and she decided that she was going to take her oath with her hand placed on a stack of banned or frequently banned books from school libraries and school curricula and all that kind of stuff.
Love it so much.
Because she had actually, in I guess the previous school board, she had really fucking had to fight about books. And there was apparently a fairly famous story that I do not think we talked about on the show that took place in this school district, where Night, the book Night, by Elie Wiesel, famous book and famous author, that it was actually pulled, a display had been pulled by a school librarian, and it sort of went viral and whatnot. Anyway, so she included Night, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, let's see, as well as a number of LGBTQ books that had been challenged in the school district as well. Apparently there's this group called Woke PA, and they're not using woke like how the rest of the world uses woke. They're going after books, and there's let's see, she included a book called Lily and Duncan, which follows the friendship between two 8th graders, a transgender girl and a boy with bipolar disorder. It was said by Woke PA that there was strong sexual content. And so parents were complaining to the school district, blah, 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 blah. Well, Karen Smith, our school board member, she said that she got a copy of the book. She read all the way through it, and there's nothing, not even a kiss, she said.
Wow.
The only reason Smith could figure that for the sexual content warning was the fact that one of the main characters was transgender. She says just the existence of a transgender student in the book was enough for some folks who want to challenge it, and it's a beautiful story. And so
that's so perfect.
Yeah.
Because these hyper religious organizations resort to lying.
Yeah.
To in order to ban books. It seems like it's exactly right.
Yeah. And so and that's absolutely true, because
either that or they can't tell the difference between like a sexual situation and a trans person existing. In which case, I really am sad for their sex lives. That sounds terrible.
Well, I can't speak to the trans experience, but as a gay man, absolutely. Like people, it doesn't happen so much anymore, but like people were always just a little too curious about, the bedroom back in the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's exactly it. Conservatives, they hear the words, they think about the people, and they can't help but think of sexual acts.
It gives them the pee-pee tickles, and suddenly they're like, no! Ah!
Yeah, so good story.
Yeah.
Good story for Dan's doldrums.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helped, Dan.
Well, I'm going to close us off with another odd but question mark positive thing.
Is this our show? Are we doing our show right now, Dan?
Right? So I'm taking us to Notre Dame, Indiana.
Okay.
Home of that very famous Catholic college. That's right. St. Mary's College in Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there's multiple Catholic colleges there. It's a very Catholic town, I guess. St. Mary's is an all-women's college. And as of now, they are accepting trans women in that. So that, they are 100% a Catholic women's college, but they're like, look, plenty of Catholic colleges and universities accept non-Catholics and even people who are opposed to Catholic, teachings, because they're just colleges. They're just trying to educate people. And, generally speaking, that's a more liberal endeavor. So that, but the college, the president of the college announced that it was happening. They are not the first women's college, Catholic women's college, to accept trans women, but they're definitely jumping on. And it was not a unilateral decision. This was actually the board, the 33-member board of trustees, apparently fully supports this change.
All right.
And they're out there doing it. Now, not everybody's happy about it, as you might imagine.
What?
Shocking, I know. You'd think that everybody would be super, super cool with it. But the bishop of the diocese that contains the college, very upset that he was not consulted.
Yeah, well,
when this happened.
Yeah.
This is Bishop Kevin Rhodes, who decided.
Is he upset because he feels excluded in making such a great decision? Right? Is that why he's upset?
That must be it. No, absolutely not. He said, I urge the board of trustees of St. Mary's College to correct its admissions policy. He said a very nice thing before this, by the way. He said that the desire of St. Mary's College to show hospitality to people who identify as transgender is not the problem. The problem is a Catholic women's college embracing a definition of woman that is not Catholic. Because really, if you want to know how to define woman, the resource you want to look to is the Catholic Church. I mean, they're like the church run entirely by men is really the best place to go for all of your needs in terms of understanding the category of woman.
They probably, it's probably not so much woman that they understand. They probably understand little lady, right? That's probably more the category that they're really good at, right?
I Love it. That was a damned good joke, and I'm giving you credit for it. Oh, brother. All right. Listen, friends, all you gents and little ladies out there, if you have anything you'd like to say about this or any of the things that we've talked about on today's show, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, I think we've talked about and maybe even played clips from a guy named Rick Scarborough before. He's a real peach of a fella, and he has recently given us a sermon. First of all, I am just going to describe the visual of where he's giving this sermon, because I am looking at a windowless wall that is just solid gray.
Yeah.
A small stage that he's on with two very sad Christmas wreaths. This is a very big, very tall wall.
Mm-hmm.
And all you see is two Christmas wreaths sort of down at like human head level. A banner, a smallish, weird banner that says something about, joy on it in the middle, going down the middle. And then two utterly prominent white, like, air conditioning vents at the top of the wall.
Honestly, what passes for a church these days?
This is a sad church, friends. I'm going to play a clip from Mr. Scarborough's recent sermonizing. I'm just going to say, Frank, I think he's got your number and that of all of the gay fellas, because he really gets... Oh, sorry. He will say he doesn't like the word gay.
Oh.
I'm not 100% sure what his objection is.
Okay.
Although there was another quote that I didn't choose for this week of another Christian douchebag saying he doesn't say the word gay because there's nothing happy about being a yucky poo-poo homosexual. Sure. I don't think he said yucky poo-poo, but I think what he said was not any more
eloquent
than that.
Okay.
So anyway, here's what Scarborough had to say.
Sin often begins manifesting itself even by the transformation of your characteristics. And about 80% of the time before a homosexual opens his mouth, you can see by the look on his face that he's, I won't say the word gay, it almost slipped out. A sodomite will always reflect it in his countenance. And if he doesn't naturally, he'll learn it by those he hangs around with.
Oh, he's got you. He's got you, Frank.
He's figured out gaydar.
He has figured out gaydar.
I mean, he would never call it that. Clearly, he would call it sodomite dar.
Sodomite dar. He is. And let me tell you something. If you've honed your sodomite dar, it means you've been hanging out with gay dudes.
He's very obviously been staring for a long periods of time at gay men. Yeah. He's been paying close attention to gay men. I mean, he's absolutely right. Right? Like,
sure.
You do get a sense of it after a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the gay man in the room and who he is.
But usually one has to have spent significant time with gay people to develop this.
With sodomite people.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. Anyway, gross. He's gross and
sodomdar,
and he has sodomite dar. That's a thing. All right. Well, we've had some folks write into us, call into us. I will start with Megan the Okie, who's responding to someone who wrote into us last week. Who wanted to join the Mormon Church in order, you'll recall, to gain a share of the billions once when the thing actually falls apart.
Right.
And we said that, you had to be a higher up. You had to be
totally.
An important
They're not
person.
going to share that shit and spread that around.
Right, exactly. So here's what Megan had to say. Last week, someone named Eli put forward a plan to join the Mormon Church just in case the money ever got divided amongst the remaining members. You guys said there's no way that cash would make it down the rank to the rank and file, and that there's certain last names one probably needs to have, including, quote, one of the sleeper last names like Bittner. Bittner? Is my mother's maiden name, says Megan. My family has multiple generations of Catholics, but could this be my ticket into the great Mormon fortune?
Oh.
Could I be a long-lost Mormon princess foretold for centuries, I imagine? Secret Mormon royalty? Could this be the beginning of how we destroy the Mormon Church once and for all? And if the Mormon Bittners use an alternate spelling, she spells it Buettner.
Yeah, Bittner, Bitner.
Yeah, well, that's just an alternate spelling. So she says if they use an alternate spelling, it's probably just some Ellis Island fuckery.
Oh,
I can work with that. I'm willing to be the double agent we need here. Just tell me who I need to marry or schmooze or pray to, and I'll get us that money. Oh, Megan, we can tell you who you need to marry. First of all, marriage is the right choice for you. You are, I presume, a female person, or at least female presenting in your name. And so, yeah, marriage is exactly what you're going to want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like the us in that. I like that you say, I'll get us that money. That's your impulse to share that wealth with, I presume, me and Frank first, and then the rest of the non-believing community. I think that's a kind and good impulse. We have a caller in, do we not?
We do indeed. This is also coming to us from Oklahoma.
Oh, we got Okies.
Okies in the house.
Is that something you spray for? What do you do when you have Okies?
A bad case of the Okies.
You put up traps? I'm not sure what one does.
Yeah, well, yeah, you just set out some catfish and everybody comes a running. This was in response to us talking about Butter Jesus.
Oh, yes.
And
the famous sculpture of Jesus that burned down a while ago. All right, let's hear what who is this?
Pedro.
We'll hear what Pedro has to say.
Hey, Frank and Dan. This is Pedro from Oklahoma. I was listening to your episode where you're talking about the butter Jesus, and I thought it was hilarious that as you were talking about that, I was walking by a statue of Jesus here at the Oklahoma Memorial, and I just thought it was very ironic that they have a statue of Jesus that is looking away from all the damage that was caused, and it's sad. And I thought to myself, well, Jesus, why don't you just fix it? Like, why don't you just go back in time and fix it? And so, anyway, I just could not help but think of the irony of having something like that on a place that was damaged by a white Christian nationalist. And we put our Oklahoma faith into Jesus to fix this issue. Anyway, just thought I would share the irony as I was walking by it. If you've never been to the Oklahoma Memorial Museum, I definitely recommend coming out and taking a look and, being sad for a day, but it's history that we all need to learn from. Anyway, thank you guys. Love the show. Love everything that you all do. See ya.
Well, Pedro, thanks for that. I just looked up the Jesus at the Oklahoma City bombing memorial, and considering what Pedro just pointed out about how, it was a Christian nationalist that did this, I think that the face palm that Jesus is doing in this thing is perfect. He literally has his hand over his face. He literally looks like he's going, ugh.
No, you're totally right. That's a terrible statue. That's not. I don't look at that and go weeping Jesus. I see exasperated Jesus.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want from a Jesus. It is Jesus going, "Oh my God, what is happening?"
That's so cringe. He's saying, "Oh no,
oh Lord."
And that's
for you young people out there.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, there was a bombing back in the 90s.
Yeah.
90s?
Yeah, it was the 90s. It was like early 95, I think, or something. It was winter. I remember it because I wasn't in Oklahoma when it happened.
Oh yeah.
I was on my mission. But yeah, it was crazy. And I hadn't thought about the bombing in a long time. Right.
Yeah.
So I hadn't thought of like Timothy McVeigh and what he stood for and what he was pissed off about. But yeah, white Christian nationalist.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point. And that should be pointed out more.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. That's literally Christian terrorism has been far more of a problem in our country than Muslim terrorism.
Yeah.
I mean, 9/11 was a big deal. So I'm not trying to take away from that, but in sort of overall, Christian terrorism has been just as big of a deal, and Jesus is face palming about it.
Far more threatened by Christian nationalists than any other group.
So much,
right?
So much,
yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, Isaac has written into us. He wants to correct me, and I accept his correction. So we'll just read what he has to say. Hey guys, just to give background. Do you remember last week, Frank? I kind of went crazy about how many people in this country are illiterate.
Yes,
the literacy rates of our country, which I'm still crazy about, but I was crazier than perhaps I should have been. So we'll let Isaac tell us why.
Okay. All right.
Hey guys, indeed, the most recent numbers from the National Center for Education Statistics, which is part of the federal government, show that 21% of Americans are unable to read English well enough to read a text and then compare and contrast, paraphrase, and make simple inferences. This is known as level 1. That standard is considered low literacy, but it's considerably more advanced than reading street signs. The percent of Americans with complete illiteracy, below level 1, was about 8%. This is the number that the NCES classifies as functionally illiterate, not the 21% at level 1. Of the 8% that are functionally illiterate, about half were unable to complete the survey at all because of an absolute language barrier or mental or physical incapacity to do so. That leaves about 4% of U.S. adults who attempted the survey and were functionally illiterate. Now, 21% at level 1 is still bad, but consider that 14% of the U.S. population was born outside of the U.S. and 20% of the U.S. population speaks a language other than English at home. These people are still being measured on their English proficiency, not their ability to read their native languages.
Right.
So yeah, okay.
Dan.
Well, don't what? Absolutely not. I will not be accepting a Dan at this time. What I will be accepting is that yes, I was incorrect in my understanding of what level of literacy that 21% of Americans are. I'm still flabbergasted at 21% of Americans being at level 1, like literally not able to read a text well enough to be able to paraphrase it or compare and contrast, or make simple inferences.
Yeah.
That is still shocking to me. And the 4% of US adults who are functionally illiterate, that is still a shockingly high amount.
Right.
But yes, there are other mitigating factors. Yes, we are a multicultural and multilingual country, though we pretend not to be. And so, yes, there are all of these other factors that are involved.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you for that correction, Isaac. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do, Dan. We have a new patron on Patreon.
Okay.
A new deacon, in fact, by the name of Christopher.
Wow. Hey,
So
Christopher.
thank
Welcome
you, Christopher.
to Magic Powers. That's awesome.
You get to pass the sacrament. So good for you.
You have the magic power of bread distribution.
And if
That's pretty awesome.
if you'd like to join Christopher in supporting the show, please do so. You can go to our website, thinkimatheist.com, and click on the support tab. And
It's the only support we get is from you guys.
Yeah.
We are entirely listener supported. So so if you feel like maybe spreading some Christmas cheer,
yeah.
go to our website and give a little.
Yeah. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Hey, Frank.
Dan.
Tis the season for just so many terrible songs to start invading our spaces. Just absurd amounts. I was at a restaurant recently and I heard a bad remake of a bad Christmas song and was just like, someone else recorded this thing. So as someone who worked in retail for many years, I can just say Christmas time is a time where I don't look forward to public spaces because our national taste, if our national taste is so bad that it includes songs like Christmas Shoes and that god awful Paul McCartney song.
Oh, Dan, that's one of the best.
It's
why it gets stuck in. It's why if somebody just says that they're simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
You're so mean. You're so mean to the people, is what I'm saying. Anywho,
it just gets stuck in your head and it'll never go away. It'll
never go away.
And that's a sign of it being a really good song.
No.
Is if it's catchy. Right?
No, it's not.
That's what I look for.
There have been wonderful Christmas songs written over the centuries, over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But as you alluded to earlier in the show, at the beginning of the show, some people, and you know what? I'm going to propose that we don't even name the Christian.
Sure. I'm fine with that.
The Christian right asshole.
Fine.
Who threw a hissy fit
Yeah.
about this recently. But he discovered, to his horror, that a lot of the really good Christmas songs were written skunt-dun-dun by Jews. He was literally like, we have to cancel all of Christmas that doesn't say the word Jesus. This is just how the war on Christmas goes. They have to keep finding new things to be like incredibly freaked out about.
Well, and it's just so dumb also because it's like he's so late to having found this out.
Right?
Well, right? Like
we all knew this, right?
We knew this a long time ago, dude.
Oh my God.
Of course.
Yeah, Irving Berlin, the Gershwins. I think we know.
We know, dude.
Although I actually hadn't known until I started looking into this story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that Mel Torme, one of my favorite sort of singers of the mid-century era, I didn't know he was Jewish.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
He wrote the Christmas song.
Oh my God.
The very one, the one that's called just the Christmas song, although a lot of people call it chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Yeah. I mean, it's really choice, right? These Christian nationalist types, they want the whole country just to bow down to Christianity, right?
Yeah.
And then some people come along popular artists, they're working, artists and musicians and whatnot. And it's that special time of year, and they're not going to like participate or make a little money off of it too. Right. Like,
not just that, but like
they're not writing. I mean, they could have written Hanukkah songs, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right. But if you want to sell some songs in this country, you write a Christmas song. Like you said, like really shitty songs.
Yeah.
Sell tons of copies because it's just a shitty Christmas song. And then these folks come along and write some of the absolute classics.
Oh, yeah.
But like you were saying, they're not Jesus-y.
Yeah, because and he's got it backwards. So his suspicion is that this is part of a conspiracy by the Jewish population of our country to kick Jesus out of Christmas.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like this is a conspiracy to de-Jesusify Christmas. No. And for anyone who's curious, the way that this did come about was that in the early part of the 20th century, songwriting was one of the few places where like Jewish people were welcomed still. Like music composition, songwriting was a place where like you could go and not encounter much in the way of anti-Semitism. And so, yeah, a lot of Jewish folks flocked to Tin Pan Alley, which is sort of the area, in Manhattan. It was where it was, they were cranking out songs, just music.
You go buy sheet music and go home and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back in the day.
And so like there was
That's
a
how you did.
hunger for Christmas songs, and the people who were there to write it happened to be Jewish people. So yeah, Let It Snow, Santa Baby, The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, Silver Bells, White Christmas, all of these were written by Jewish people who were like, the big composers and songwriters of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Johnny Marks, a guy named Johnny Marks, one Jewish fellow wrote Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, A Holly Jolly Christmas, and Silver and Gold. Call Burl Ives, we've got your guy.
Christians have really, I mean, I'm not saying anything profound or original here, but like, it's pretty shitty for Christians through the years, right, to have pushed Jews off to the fringes, right?
Yeah.
And then like a corner of the universe starts to thrive, right? There starts to be something interesting happening over there. And then the Christians are all upset about it, that the Jews are over there, like, flourishing, right? Like famously back in olden times in Europe, like, the Christians pushed Jewish people into like lending and banking, right?
Right.
And all of a sudden they get rich and now they're all pissed off about it.
Right.
It's like, well, you limited their activities to something that was going to make them rich.
Yeah, exactly.
So, right. And it's the same thing with this. It's like,
that was you guys that did that.
So it's like, what the fuck? Like,
well, and the other thing is, far from being a conspiracy to de-Jesusify Christmas, if you ask Jews to write Christmas songs, are they going to feel comfortable diving into Jesus stuff?
Correct. Right.
I'm gonna say no.
Right.
If someone asked me to write a Hanukkah song or a Eid song or a Ramadan song or whatever, I'm not going to feel great about like delving into the theology.
Sure. But you can do some Ramadama ding dong, right?
And oh my God, you just wrote a hit, my friend. If you write about like the family gathering and everyone having love around the table and, the fun that's being had in the season, or whatever. You know, obviously do your own research about what the season is like. I don't know what Ramadan is like.
Well, it rotates, which is one of the most annoying things about it.
Okay, welcome to Frank's Gripes with Ramadan. But yes, what you're right about is like nice feelings.
Yeah. No, you're
because
right.
That's because it's not, you're not going to be comfortable going into their space about
the rest of it, but you know family togetherness and you know that stuff. That stuff's universal, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason. Yeah. And secular Christmas, it does feel a little universal at times. And maybe that's a lot of it because there is so much of the stuff that is like just celebrating togetherness in the season and whatnot.
Yeah. And all of these ding dongs that are screaming about taking the Christ out of Christmas.
God.
Dude, say Jesus 1,000 times in your house. It'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like, go to church a bunch.
Right.
You're going to be okay. You can have as much Jesus in your Christmas as you can handle. Yes, you're going to probably get divorced because of it, but like, you're going to like do it as much as you want. Say literally spend the entire day saying nothing, no other words but Jesus Christ.
That's like the best Christmas ever.
You go knock yourself out, man. Put the Jesus right back into Christmas if you want to. The rest of us will be trying to enjoy ourselves. And I include, like, I think most Christians don't want a Christmas that is only about Jesus.
God. No, I mean, growing up, Dan, did your parents try to like read like the Christmas story from the Bible at all?
Thank God, no.
Oh, my dad, like it happened, like they sort of got progressively more like crazy, right?
Yeah.
In their Mormonism as time progressed, because like when I was a kid, they were still sort of freshly into the church.
Yeah. Andrea's family still does that to this day.
God. And it's just like, and so like these were things that were like being added on, right? It wasn't something I grew up and, oh, dad's now going to read, from the Bible.
Right.
It's, although I don't know if I ever would have been excited about that even as a child, but like it was just the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the most boring thing. And here's the other thing. It's a good thing that my parents didn't do that, because at some point along the way, I would have become very annoyed by this, and I would have noticed that the Gospel of Luke does not match up at all with the Gospel of Matthew,
right?
And is actually irreconcilable with these two Gospels. Tell totally different stories that you can't reconcile, and I would start to point that out. And that's a fun game that you all can play at home with your family members if they start to trot out too much Jesus stuff. If it's just a little bit of Jesus, let them have it. It's their time anyway. But if it's excessive in your face Jesus, you can combat it. You can fight Jesus with Jesus if you're not if you feel like it. But what you don't do is bring up ideas that like Horus and all the Jesus is just playing off of all these other things, because that's all bullshit. I hate to say it, you guys, but like all that stuff that all these other mythical figures were born on to the 25th of December and of virgin birth and all this, that's not true. That was just made up by a dude. So we have myths on our side as well. Sad. It's sad times. Anyway, get out there and have a non-Christ Christmas if you want to.
Xmas.
Have an Xmas. Have a
holly
Festivus.
Jolly Xmas.
Yes, exactly.
It's the best time of the year.
Indeed. And feel free to sing all of the traditional Jewish songs that go along with Christmas. You are not tied down to anything.
Indeed.
With that said, if you would like to chime in about your favorite Christmas songs or your least favorite Christmas songs or your favorite Christmas traditions that your family did or the awful, horrible Christmas traditions that your family did, you can do any or all of those things by writing into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And if you'd like to join our members only lounge, you can do so by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks, all y'all, for tuning in. We really appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.